sleeping around with a married mother of seven. Now think of the Paxton dirty deeds we don't know about yet. The wife cheater and fraud, or the Texas workhorse.
And crazy is that single-handedly bringing divorce on biblical grounds back into the lexicon. But he could be the nominee. He could actually be the nominee here. And the ad, they're not lying. What happened to Ken Paxton?
Yeah, I love to be candid. I've been in a lot of campaigns, been in politics for over 26 years. That was one of the most incendiary ads I've ever seen run in any election anywhere. And they put it out. I actually had Senator Cornyn on my radio show the other day. The day after it came out, I played it. I said, "Yeah, how do you think people are going to react to this?" And he said, "Well, I'll tell you, it's all true." You know, and so to say that this has gotten nasty or gotten chippy is an understatement. But it's a contrast in styles, right? Cornyn, the consummate insider, longtime senator, kind of the pre-Trump Republican, but he's been very loyal to Trump. He's voted with Trump 99% of the time. On style, he's sort of the old world Republican. Paxton, very MAGA, very, as a performative matter, matches the new Republican base. Interestingly, Wesley Hunt, who's the third candidate, who's way behind, he will probably be the person that drives this to a runoff. He kind of also thought maybe he might attract Donald Trump's attention, but Trump endorsed no one here. So the strategy is this. If you're Cornyn, you get to a runoff, and you have your people who are close to Trump go to him and say, listen, it's going to be harder for Paxton to beat a Tallarico and energize Democratic base. We don't have $100 million to try to save a Texas Senate race for the Republicans. We shouldn't be spending money here, so come in for Cornyn. A lot of this is on Trump's shoulders, and he determines in the runoff to make a choice. That would probably be determinative, but the president hasn't done that yet.
And I think in the event of a runoff, those Wesley Hunt votes are probably going to go to Ken Paxton. And I think,
you think so?
I think likely that's my guess.
Even if the president told them, I want Cornyn?
Because well, that could be persuasive, but then again, I think Trump's endorsement, it's debatable how much power that carries.
I guess you could be right about that because Wesley Hunt has run a very anti-Cornyn campaign from the beginning.
Right, but I think
more than anything else.
What both of these races, though, both the Democratic and Republican side, indicate to me is that they're referendums on who are the fighters and who are the folders. That's James Tallarico's words. And when it comes to Cornyn, he is more palatable, and he doesn't risk alienating independents the way that Ken Paxton does. He has too much baggage, too many skeletons in his closet, and scandals, I think, for a lot of independents to swallow. But I think ultimately it does come down to, quality of life issues, like you were saying, the economy and things like that. And I will say the risk of Tallarico winning the nomination here is that he's trying to pitch this Mamdani-like style of economic populism in a state like Texas, which, even though it's become more purple, is still not a red state. And in recent elections, recent years, they're not all that comfortable with voting in Democrats across the state.
They're not a blue state.
Sorry, they're not a blue state. They're not a blue state. And I think, when it comes to waging war against the billionaires, what that translates to is higher taxes. And I don't think Texas, which is a tax haven, just like Florida, I'm not so sure they're going to be well on board with that.
Well, I just want to say, Trump went and passed these massive tax cuts for the richest people on earth, and costs are still going up. People are seeing that despite these tax cuts, you still have unemployment numbers going up. So ultimately, I think what this is a showing of is people in our country that are just sick of the policies that have been passed in Washington that are just simply not working.
Well, but the thing is, so like I said, the Mamdani prescription is affordability, right? But Democrats, including Tallarico, they're not explaining what that actually means. Affordability, productivity, plus innovation. Not dumping more money on a problem and expecting different results.
Well,
but Republicans are saying, no, it's cut taxes, deregulation, lower red tape, and unleash supply. That's what brings costs down.
First of all, both candidates are really great. Whoever wins, the other candidate should throw all of their weight behind the other candidate, of course. But I think that the idea that James Tallarico hasn't run on anything affirmative is not true. He's been running on a bunch of 80-20 issues. The 80-20 issues are like banning congressional stock trading, redistributing wealth from billionaires. That's very popular. Taxing billionaires has a 90% approval, I believe. He's been running on anti-corruption campaigns. These are 80-20 issues that will resonate with the people of Texas.
All right, we got to pause for just a second because we have some news coming in. John King is back with us. John, we were just talking about Dallas County. There's been some new developments with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's campaign. What are we learning?
Apparently, she wants to keep the polls open even longer in Dallas County and is asking that they do that. They changed. Normally, the Democrats and Republicans form together to run the primaries. In Texas this year, Abby, I don't pretend to understand how it happened on the ground, but what they had is they just changed. Where you used to be able to show up in your area to vote, they'd have you on a voting list and you could vote. This time, they told the Democrats they had to go to their specific precinct, so it did cause some confusion. Now, they kept the polls open for 2 extra hours, and Congresswoman Crockett is apparently asking now that they keep them open even longer because she believes there's still some people who haven't been able to find their place. And we'll watch how that plays out. And certainly not a partisan statement. If people haven't been able to vote and they're still looking to be able to vote, we would hope that they would find a way to help them to vote. Here's my question as we wait for the answer to that play out is it enough math? Right? In the end, this is about math. 69,000 right now. See, what happened? What happened? While we were talking, some Dallas votes came in. When you came to me, Tallarico, the state representative, was up by 111,000. Now he's up by 69,000. Why? Because we got our first votes from Dallas County tonight in the Democratic primary. And as noted, Congresswoman Crockett's congressional district is part of this county, and she is running it up big there. The question is it enough? Is it enough, right? 61%. You say, wow, that's a resounding victory, and it is, to 38%. So you do the math there, but look, if you do the math there, you see 30 and then 16, so you're looking at 45 roughly, my quick math, 45,000 votes, but you got, so which got her from 112,000 lead to a 70,000 lead. The question is, where do you get the other 70,000 when you're looking at this map and your major population centers have a significant amount of the vote in? Again, if we go down to Harris County, you're at 65%, and she has an 8-point lead there. But so as the rest comes in, if it came in exactly as it has so far, does it give you that much? That's when we get late into the night and you're looking at the different pieces on the chessboard. In Texas, there are 254 of them, meaning 254 counties. So it's a lot of chess pieces to go through and count. Not a lot of people live up in these places, but look at all that Tallarico blue. That's the key to the lead right now. He is just winning in all these small rural counties. He's also winning down here in the majority Latino counties. So we'll see what happens to a very important point. And again, not a partisan statement. My view of doing this for 40 years is if people are trying to find their place to vote, let them vote. Find a way to let them vote. So we'll see how that plays out in Dallas County and if it's happening anywhere else. I will just tell you at the moment, we're not close to calling this race, best of my knowledge anyway. Our decision desk, our experts, they're working on this. But we're up close to 60% of the estimated vote counting. His lead has gone from triple digits, yes, to 69,000. But you do get to a point where that's 5 points. That's 5 points. And so if you're Congresswoman Crockett, I can fully understand why you're saying let people vote, keep the polls open, because you're doing the math. You're behind right now, and you're trying to squeeze every last vote you can.
Yeah, this is still a live race, and that we're going to continue to follow. John King, please stand by for us as we wait for these results. Some breaking news tonight in the war against Iran as